very short symbolic that I want to show you, explain to you, but also really want to help you understand how this line can help you play the changes, finally play the changes, because in my opinion, I think a lot of people struggle with playing the changes. And what do I mean with that? I mean that you are able to play lines that not only reflect, you know, the chords that are being played in the background, but even if you're playing on your own, if you would be improvising alone, that people would be hearing the changes, right? And I think a lot of people struggle with that, and we'll have to get really back to the basics to understand what we need to do. But at the same time, we can already play sort of cool shit, right? I'm going to show you how that line works and how that relates to playing the changes. So let's look at this lick from a very guitaristic point of view. We need to master two motions. One is like 4, 4, 1, 3. And the other one is 4, 1, 2. Right, so let's practice 4, 1, 3. Huh? And then the other one, 4, 1, 2. Right, he's playing it. Right, he's playing very short notes and very quickly. It's so pointillistic, I find. So like, you know, like really like a splash of notes, sounds very cool. And he's playing it on Alone Together when in the A part there's a 2, 5, 1 going to F major, and then he's playing sort of enclosures for the F major triad. And now I'm coming to the point where we can connect sort of learning to play over changes with the Jim Hall lick. So hear me out. So we have this F major triad, which we can visualize or see on this F major chord, right? Because it's a 2, 5, 1 going to F major in this place. And on the F major we can visualize this shape, and then we can play 4, 1, 3 to the A, 4, 1, 2 to the C, 4, 1, 2 to the F. So we're playing enclosures because the last note of our technical exercise, right? The last note is the note that we're targeting. That means the last note is a note of the F major triad, right? And basically we're surrounding it with chromatic or non-chromatic approach notes, right? And then we can just use this pattern on this major triad. But how do we get there to play stuff like this that's a little bit more elevated maybe? First of all, I want you to really check out close position triads in minor and major for a start, and take your time, right? So if we have this F major triad here, we can play this F major triad. Right, my guitar's out of tune. We can just like say, okay, I'm learning all the inversions of this triad just to have a little bit more flexibility. Also learning all the inversions of a minor triad. Also learning all the inversions of a diminished triad. If I only know where that would be. God. Yeah. Never practice my diminished. And my augmented. That's easy. I can do that. I hope. Oh God. Because it's always the same shape. Right, and then I just take a tune, any tune, an easy tune. And yes, you guessed it. Now the brutal truth comes again. If you want to play the changes, you need to know the chords, right? You need to play an accompaniment by heart preferably, because the chords come really quickly, one after the other. And what we need to learn, as a first step, if we want to learn to play the changes, is absolutely to think ahead and know the chords that are coming while we're playing. So that means we need to have some mental space to think so many things. And if we're still freaking out about the right chord form or the arpeggio or the scale or whatever it is hitting the right string, then we don't have the mental capacity to just, you know, go ahead and think about the next chord. But that's what you need if you want to play the changes. And if you can't do that, I really, really strongly urge you to practice a lot of technique on the guitar. Practice your chords, practice lines and stuff and scales. And if you think you can do that, then push up the tempo and do it on a higher speed, right? So that the part of playing the instrument itself becomes subconscious. So that while we play, we can talk to somebody else or listen to somebody else. And that's very important, right? So let's record, let's say, Autumn Leaves, the first 8 bars on the looper in B flat or in G minor, whatever you want. So now I have the chords on my looper. A nice exercise is to sit there and think the chords and not play. Can you do that? That's your first step. Don't look at a freaking paper. It doesn't help. You have to have it here. And if that works, on which chord are we again? Then you take your cup of coffee and then you leave the room. And then you come back. And when you come back, where are we in the form? Where are the chords? Can you hear that? Second of all, now we're coming back to the triads. Take a freaking triad. Let's say, okay, C minor is our first chord, so I'm taking this shape, let's say this shape. And then I'm just shifting the shape of the triad. So how many different shapes do I need, right? I need a minor shape and I need a major shape because it's triads. We can't forget about the 7 for a moment. So I need a minor shape, I use this, and I need a major shape. And if that's too hard to do that like this over the looper, you can just, like, you know, prepare yourself, preparation, right? So C minor, I'm using this. F7, I'm using this. B flat, E flat. A minor, half diminished. Right, there's one other shape, half diminished. D7, G minor. Right, and then I rehearse it in a way that I play the chords in the same way. I'm not changing the inversions. I can do that later on. That would be another level, right? This level is I'm playing the freaking triad shape on the chord like this. Sorry. And I'm thinking about the next chord. Thinking about the next chord. Thinking about the next chord. That's how I start. And now I pick the shape. Right, and now I can play on my own. 2, 3, 4. Right, and this is very easy but very effective because you can hear what you're doing. And what happens if you do an exercise like this, it helps you hear the changes on a deeper level, and it helps you hear how it sounds if you play the changes. And don't worry about it being hip or anything. That you can still practice all your hip stuff in the next 20 minutes of your practice plan, right? But be sure that you have basic stuff like this down, and that's how I would start. And of course the next step could be to play the chords in inversion, right? So for the C minor, you have then more option, and then you play the C minor here, then it's closer to the F, right? You know what I mean? And the B flat here, and the E flat there or there, so that you're not shifting up and down the fretboard all the time, but it's a good start because it helps you connect your triad to the chord on the freaking looper. And now if we get back to this little thing that Jim Hall has been playing, right, he's having here an enclosure for the E flat. Listen to the recording, because the F major goes to the F7, but that's just a side note. But anyways, now we can say, okay, let's take one of those enclosures and not give a about having it doesn't have to be a diatonic enclosure, right, or a chromatic enclosure. We just take sort of a shape. So let's say we take 4, 1, 3, right? So what was our first chord again? C minor, right? So we chose this inversion of the minor triad, where we have, which is nice for the start, the root on the D string. And now I'm playing, and maybe then the triad. Then I'm going to the next. You know what I do? Oh, I fucked it up one more time. Right, so now since I know what I'm doing, I can play an enclosure, whatever kind of an enclosure it is, because since I had that exercise before, I know I'm landing on a note that is good on the chord, right? And then I can just, like, you know, endlessly as always say, okay, cool, I'm playing, what am I playing? Right, or whatever. Right, that's just the two different versions of the enclosure that I'm messing up. So let's say I'm adding on the 2. Let's practice it. Let's do it. Little G minor pentatonic. I know where I am. Yeah. And that's it. So basically it's always knowing where you are. You have to have, like, you know, like a tape or like a band or like a thing that is here. It's moving around in your hand. That's the form. And it's sort of mystical because people can feel where 4 bars and 8 bars and they also develop a feeling for the form. And that's a real thing, right? And you can only develop it if you practice the chords a lot by heart and do exercises like this. And if you never have been experiencing this feeling, I urge you to try that. With one song, get really deep, pick your guitar up every morning, play those chords, 10 choruses or maybe 10 minutes, up to a point where you can't be confused anymore. Then you have it down and then see what's happening to your playing. I don't say you need to play like this, but I would say if you can play like this, that will help you get much better. And if you can't play like this, I would also say that could be one of the reasons why you're not getting better, because you don't have your foundation in place. Hope this is helpful. See you next week. Bye.